audition. And I just want to say, how did I get this job? Really, I thought a lot about who really should have been here interviewing you and doing the Q&A. It should have been like Christopher Nolan. Someone with a little more gravitas, because I just think you are one of the... Anyway, before I get on...
Yeah, come on, you're selling yourself short. Hollywood legend, Hollywood hero, and and you were just in one of the biggest movies ever to screen in theaters.
A Minecraft movie?
Exactly. I mean, that's like,
Well,
there's no higher level.
For me? Maybe we should flip this. No. In all seriousness.
Were you standing the whole time?
Okay, I just wanted to, I thought I was coming out alone and introducing. I'm going to do the
Did
introduction.
someone introduce us, or we just walked out?
I am so honored to introduce writer, director, actor, philanthropist, surrealist, pilot, Nathan Fielder. How good was that episode? Woo! I bet everyone in here had already seen the episode and we're watching it a second time. It hits different when you're in a group of like-minded audience members, I'm sure you'll agree. You're a genius.
Well, we don't know if they're like-minded necessarily.
Well, we're all here and
when you really drill down on a person, you discover they have different viewpoints. It's surprising. Anyways, that's not relevant to you. Let's just say you're like-minded for the sake of this. And thank you, everyone, for... Sorry, you're hosting. I'm doing it really good.
No. Take over. I don't mind you taking
No. Look, I'm relying on you for the entertainment value of this thing.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out today to celebrate a genius. And also, I think, not just thank you, congratulations for getting in. This is a hot ticket. This thing sold out like in a snap, and I'm sure you can feel it. You probably feel it when you walk down the street, the love and attention. And I imagine that you're uncomfortable with all this extreme fame that you got from this. Because you got like a special kind of fanatical fan base now, where they're just like hanging on every genius word that comes out of your mouth, like you're some kind of like a Salvador Dali of our times.
You can keep going.
It wasn't really a question. I'm just bathing you.
It feels so good to hear from you. Wow, that's nice. When I was walking in, there were these older kind of muscly men with these cardboard things with photos of me they want to sign. But I learned that they put those right on eBay or whatever and sell them.
Yep.
So it's a little business, but they don't, I think, really know who I am. But they're assigned to go out. Anyways, just a little inside kind of Hollywood, how the business works.
Welcome to my world.
Do you sign those things?
It's at the airports mostly. That's when
Yeah.
you have to do the work. But I don't do these very often, so I'm a little nervous because I'm a huge admirer of yours. And
Jack, you're doing great.
so far so good.
And you have notes on the phone? Is that why you have that?
These are my questions. I brought them on my phone and I worked very hard on them. But really, it's like I kind of wish that I could have had a rehearsal of this Q&A. I could use a little rehearsing.
You're doing amazing. This is
What I did,
amazing.
what do you think about this technique? I just wrote down 5 words, and and each word is connected to a question, because I didn't want to be this guy reading my questions like that, so I just looked at them. And the first word is Genesis. So I want to talk about Rehearsal Season 2. Just incredible. And I wanted to know the genesis. Where did this start? When did you sit down in your office or wherever you were and just like really figure out what is this going to be? How did this season come about?
Well, thank you. Great question. And Genesis is a great word. What?
Yeah.
Trigger word, you call it?
Yeah.
It's a great trigger word. I've been. This season's all about plane crashes and planes and pilots. But I like for almost 20 years have been like interested in commercial aviation disasters because there's a show in Canada called Mayday that is this it?
No, it's great. It's a great show. I'm so sorry.
Why are you apologizing?
I'm so flattered that I'm not.
Oh, you know Mayday. Are
Yeah,
you from
I'm
Canada?
No, I'm from Danville, where Sully's from. So it's just like very connected.
Okay. No, it's great, and I'm glad you've seen it. What? Yeah. Anyways. But they basically reenact, like, they show the crash and they base it on the black box recordings, and then they show the investigation into the crash and all the effort they go, like the plane kind of breaks apart into tiny little pieces, but then they can find every piece and refigure out everything that happened. And then they put all this work into making sure that type of crash never happens again. And the industry is actually very good at it. They really do a good job at like making sure that they make changes to all the planes and all that. But then I started to notice like the one thing that just kept happening that they couldn't fully fix was the like pilot error stuff related to communication. And I noticed it sort of kept popping up where it wouldn't be the only cause of the crash, but if the communication was better between the two pilots, it could have sort of made the difference. And I thought that was like interesting. And then for years I was just, if I needed something to talk about with someone, I'd say, hey, did you know that this is the main contributing factor to all plane crashes? And people would be like, wow, that's interesting. You're an interesting person. And so then, just thinking about the show and sort of what it's about, and I guess I just started, I don't know how the idea came about, but I was like, this is sort of interesting if there's parallels between pilots. Pilots feel a lot of pressure to like be perfect for you, the public, because if the pilot seems a little weird, then that's scary, right? So they want to be, so that pressure that's on them I thought was sort of interesting, and I was like, oh, maybe there's some parallels in that type of communication and their personal lives. And that was sort of the first idea. Anyways, does that make sense? I don't know. It wasn't me like sitting in an office fully.
Yeah.
But it had to happen slowly, maybe.
Well, like all of your stuff, it feels like from the beginning of Nathan for you all the way through here, there's themes that you're working on and little seeds of what's to come later. I feel like, you're right. It's not that you sat down and said, okay, time for rehearsal season 2. It's like these things that you've already been working on and working towards, and looking forward to seeing what happens in season 3.
How do you come up with ideas? What do you do?
I write down key
trigger words.
words.
I love that term.
My second word was role playing, and you were just talking about how communication was such a fascinating part of this season, and people having open lines and difficulty just saying how they feel out of fear, and how sometimes exercise that you came up with. And now it's very funny, but there's also, like with all of your stuff, a kernel of truth there, that if you're playing a character and you establish, like, I'm playing a character, I'm Captain Blunt. Fucking hilarious. It gives me the power to tell you what I'm really feeling and thinking without fear. And you're playing Captain All Ears. You're very receptive to their, and it made me think about the times when I play characters. When I do a movie and I have an accent, or if I have a facade that I can hide behind, it frees me up. I've noticed that in the past. I'm able to act a lot better if I'm not me.
Yeah, what can you do when you're acting that you feel you can't do?
Well, I'm not being judged on, like, oh, Jack's an asshole because his character was an asshole. If you're a different person, then you're freed up of being worried about what people think of you, because it's not me.
Yes.
And so I was thinking about this in the context of you. And when you're on camera, you must be, I mean, it's Nathan Fielder, it's you, but it's also, you get the feeling like, well, this isn't really Nathan. Like, how much of what you portray when you're on camera is a role that you're playing, and how much of it is really you?
Well, I think that's a great question, and I actually think it's great you added your own insight into that, because I mean, you're like a actor, like very, so when you go into that zone, that probably gives, for people that aren't actors, it might be hard to understand how being like a character would like free you up to do things. But that was sort of what we were trying to imply, is that, yeah, like you're not being judged because you can sort of say, oh, well, I was acting. And that for pilots, that would give them the sort of excuse. But yeah, for me, I'm just trying to like, I'm making a show. So there's a lot going on, there's cameras around, and I'm trying to engage with people. So, I sort of like black out and I go into this state. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, people have various like parts to them of, everyone acts sort of different around everyone, different people in their lives, right? You guys can relate to that concept. Or no? Who here acts the same around everyone? No one. Okay, so that's sort of it, where it's like, okay, well, there's parts of you that changes around everyone, and that's sort of what it feels like. In the show, it's like whatever someone's bringing to the table might bring out a different part of me, and then, yeah, I want it to be like funny, but also like good show, make good show is goal. Look, I don't know, but yeah, what's your next trigger word?
Flying. So I'm watching the show. I'm blown away. I get to the season finale, and I can't believe it. I thought you were going towards.
Wait, I have a question. You're an actor, so you have to like memorize lines and stuff. But you've like had to check for each of 3 words. How do you memorize your lines for like when you go to show up to set?
This is different. These questions, I wasn't approaching it in the same way where I gotta memorize them and say that. I don't know. You're right. That maybe
No, I'm not trying to look. I don't want to make you feel insecure in any way or regret doing this. But I was, because acting came up, I was just sort of wondering, why maybe that process wouldn't be applied here. It would be beneficial.
Well, if I'm being honest, I wrote these questions like 20 minutes ago. I start memorizing 3 days before we shoot any particular scene. I always say I have a 3-day cushion.
Really?
Yeah, and I go hard. I memorize for an hour, and then I'll go to sleep, and that's when it cooks into my brain. You gotta sleep on it 3 nights, and then I have it.
So you do it right before bed every night?
Correct.
Okay.
Anyways.
You do an hour and then a full night's sleep. And then,
What about me?
so what if on set, I just have a question, one more question. What if on set, the director's like, this line's not working, here's a new line.
That drives me nuts.
Really?
No, but some of the best stuff comes from that.
How do you remember it?
No, that doesn't drive me nuts.
Okay.
What drives me nuts is like full rewrite the night before we shoot a scene. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
I've been baking this for 2 nights. Right? You're gonna throw this at me now?
And do you say the word baking to them? Like, I've been baking the lines. Like, does a director understand that? Is that a common, like, acting sort of technique?
I have used the baking terminology before, but it's not something I usually share in front of a crowd. This is very
This is great. No, people here are here to understand the process, the behind the scenes of the Hollywood brain.
Is anyone familiar with the term wake and bake?
That's for drugs, right? That's marijuana.
Drugs.
That's not acting. You're trying to move on, right?
Lying. Watching the show, the season finale, I thought you tricked me because I thought we were heading towards a Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. You're going to be sitting at a panel. You're going to be talking to all of the members of Congress about flight safety, and then you pulled a switcheroo on us, and the finale episode is actually you've learned how to fly a 737. Unbelievable twist I did not see coming. No one saw it coming. But it made me think about the timeline. It's like, wait, it took you 2 years to learn how to hit. So that means you must have known this was where it was headed from the beginning.
I would have gone, if I could get in front of the Congress panel,
Yeah.
I would have done that, and I will still do that if they will have me. And actually, the FAA made an official statement about the show this week, which is sort of, yes.
They're dumb.
They don't seem to know what they're talking about, truly. Anyways, but when you make a show like this, I think you have to be you have to have like a plan, but also be open to like things that might happen that you're not expecting. And so we have to like balance that when we make the show. But when we started, right when I started, right when I had the basic idea, I was like, okay, no one is going to take me seriously that I'm trying to like investigate this thing or look into it. And if we have to try to get a bunch of pilots involved in the show, I was like, I felt insecure, like as like, oh, they're just going to think that I'm like, they're going to be worried about like it's not being something we're really trying to like look at in any way. So I was like, well, I want to become a pilot both to learn really what it's like and so I can understand it, but also it'll help me when I'm talking to these pilots to be like, hey, I'm a pilot too. Like that in the middle of the conversation. But also, so I knew I wanted to get to the point where I was like, even though it's a small plane still, like if I'm like a commercial pilot, it takes a lot of work, and I was like, well, that'll really help me like go through the mindset, but also sort of show that I'm like trying to take this seriously. And so, that was the like initial goal. And then, yeah, flying the big plane thing, we didn't actually know that we could do that for sure until literally like days before it happened. We were still trying to like figure it out. So, you can try to like be like, this would be great, but also you have to sort of have like, well, we could also do these things. Does that make sense, how I said it? I didn't speak as eloquently as, yeah, anyways. I'm sort of fumbling around, but yeah, that was always, me at least becoming a pilot in some capacity was always, and actually, in the show, I talked to all the people in the show, like part of our conversations, like I told them I was a pilot and I told them where I was at. We had conversations about aviation and stuff. And then in the edit, we were sort of like, oh, you know, it's more interesting if maybe this is like a reveal in the last episode rather than having it sort of spread out throughout the season. So part of it was like an edit choice, where like in my head, the story would be more like, okay, well, I'm a pilot in there. So it's, yeah, we hid that more from the viewer, even though a lot of the pilots, like I did talk to them about it throughout. All right.
Sorry, I have to go back to my notes.
If you want, like, you're welcome to like peek at your next word while I'm answering. but only if you want. I was just saying I won't think it's true.
Like some people in the audience are going to see what I'm doing. They're going to see me sneak.
If you peek, right?
If I do it,
Or you could memorize when you say the word, you could maybe memorize the next one. I know, look, it's okay because we have.
I'm off book. I've got
we have time.
Okay, the fourth word, the penultimate word is transporting. In the end of the finale, it shows you transporting some empty 737s to different parts of the world. Like it's become a second career or third career. How many careers you have?
Transporting was the word to trigger that. That's amazing.
It worked. It triggers my brain. Are you still doing that? Like, when was the last time you transported a 737 to, East Sudan?
Yeah, I mean, I do it. I've never been to Sudan, but I do it when I have time. I just had to send my passport to the Chinese consulate to get a China crew visa for a flight that I'm supposed to do soon. But also, when you don't fly all the time, it gets a little scary. So anyways, I'm gonna do it, I think. It's like when there's large spaces in between each flight, you start to be like, should I get some more practice maybe? But I'm sure it's fine, right? I mean, I passed the test, so I must know what I'm doing.
Like, it's probably not easy to get time in that simulator. If you're like, I just want to brush up.
You can go, I can go back to Vegas and get time in the sim. The sim is just really expensive, and like, I guess like when I was doing the flight training, like HBO was paying for it. I don't know, I guess I haven't really talked about it with HBO. Amy's here, she's the executive from HBO. So maybe HBO would still try to fund some of my training. Current, just for safety's sake. Right? Because if I'm going to not do it, to save money, I'm assuming they would step in for the sake of the public. HBO cares about more than just entertainment. They really want to do something. But yeah, no, this is just with the show as a whole, like, because it's, you can see in this episode especially just the craftsmanship and the artistry that goes into these things, like
And puppets.
the puppets, the sets, like our production designer. Oh yes, someone who made the puppet is here. Yes, so we have, I truly believe that we have like the best team in television and maybe movies too. Right? Or I don't know. Okay, best team in TV and movies who really kill themselves to they're so creative. They can come up with these things, and what is obviously you see on the screen what they have to do to make this possible. And something I want to mention too. Sorry, I'm going off. Did you have a word for anything? Okay.
I have one word left, so yeah, you can.
It's like, so they're oftentimes you're creating like an illusion for the camera, when you're building a set. But a lot of what they're doing is they're creating an illusion for the experience of the people that come in. So when they're replicating stuff, it's not always like all the details don't appear on camera, but we try to be accurate to things for the experience of the person, because if it's inaccurate, it's going to change. So there's a whole extra level of work that goes into the details in the show that like no one is seeing. So anyways, the whole crew is amazing. They're so talented, and I just want to say that firmly. Anyway, that's an aside, but it's like, especially with this episode, you sort of see all of that. Yeah. Sorry, I went off a little.
I love it.
You do?
Are you ready for the last word? I have one left, and then we have to leave.
Okay. How are we doing on? Are we good for the amount of time?
I don't think there's a limit, or
Okay.
also I don't think there's an amount of, like, no one's going to demand their money back if we go like a few minutes short.
It was free, right, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all
That's where they get
It's all
you.
great. And a final word. Sully, have you met or been in contact with the actual Sully, the man, the myth, the legend, who was such a big part of this episode?
I haven't spoken to him. I tried to reach out at like one point. I wanted to like talk to him, but he didn't. It was through someone that like represented him, I guess. So he didn't reply, right? No. I don't think we heard back, but I'm sure he watched it and was probably just like shocked at figuring out what actually happened. He probably can't, I assume he just can't actually acknowledge it because it would be illegal, right? So I don't know. Look, he's a hero, he's an American hero, great man, and the reason we're highlighting him is because he did the right thing in terms of the communication, even though he did wait till they were pretty close to him. Maybe he could have asked a little earlier. It reminds me of any note, now that we're sort of peers, I guess. So, look, very few of us have like been able to, achieve a miracle in the plane. So we're a small group, so hopefully we'll reach out now and yeah. But the stuff was interesting. I mean, his book is interesting. It's like he does sort of like, you can tell he doesn't want to like say certain things, so it's maybe interesting. But I don't know. But look, I just got to end this sentence, right? So I'm probably gonna say something weird if I keep going. But, okay, the sentence is done. What? You're out of words.
Out of words.
What are you feeling right now? I
was
want to
feeling
say
like
based on.
you created.
Look, let's drop this
every
script.
episode.
Let's drop
I
the
was thinking
script.
that your contribution to television and cinema history is magical. It's really like fucking magic. I laughed so hard, and I go, oh, that's so stupid. That's hilarious. And then there's this magical thing where it actually solves actual problems and it works. And it's like, how the fuck does he do that? What's happening here? And I also just wanted to say, I think we did good.
Well, look, yeah, we did good, and you should feel great about this, and you've been amazing, and it's a true honor to have Jack Black sitting beside me.
you.
Okay, let's not